Coming up this half hour, Montanans will have another big decision to make on the ballot this fall, the latest issue to head to voters. Plus, Netflix is making some changes to better help those who are blind or deaf. And later, the newest technology in the works for charging phones. We'll show you the crawling phone coming up on Montana This Morning.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
It's creepy.
Why?
Well, we'll tell you about it in a little bit.
But why?
It's about charging and not having to get up and plug in the charger. Well, we'll tell you more about this, but they're working on it like going and then coming back to you. So you just sit there and your phone goes and charges itself.
What a complete and utter waste of time.
I think it's creepy.
Well, forget about the fact it's creepy. It's just what a waste. Okay. All right.
That's the latest research.
Okay. I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, geez.
Weather.
Got so much more important things to be worrying about in this world, and here we are inventing phone chargers that crawl around. Seems bright. A lot of fire variables to work with here today. Temperatures, not a huge factor, but definitely going to be a lot of dry air. Still a little bit gusty out there, an occasional wind gust around 20 miles per hour. 46 brisk degrees right now in Great Falls. Humidity sitting at 54%. As for the Capitol on the Opportunity Bank iCam, we're looking at 51 right now, and rather calm start to the day there as well. All right, UV index today not terribly high, a little bit higher than yesterday. Those clouds filtered out a lot, but rated at 7 today, so right on the borderline there of high. And weather headlines, mild temperatures staying below average here today. We do still have an increased fire danger, and then high pressure is going to offer up extreme heat as we head into a new work week. I'll tell you about it shortly, Shannon.
Jason, thanks. It's 5:01 now. Montanans already have a general election ballot crowded with high-profile races for many statewide offices. But now they have another big issue to decide: whether or not to legalize marijuana. It became official on Thursday. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the November 3rd ballot for voters to decide. Initiative 190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It also has a companion measure, Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could not be banned from possessing marijuana. I-190 also would levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana in the state, and supporters of the measure say that will generate $48 million a year by 2025. U.S. Senator Jon Tester and other Senate Democrats are blasting both President Trump and Senate Republican leadership for refusal to fund the Postal Service. They're also saying actions by the newly installed Postal Service leadership is undermining mail voting. Tester and all 46 other Democratic and independent U.S. senators wrote a letter on Wednesday to Trump-appointed Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. They asked whether reports are true that the Postal Service will charge state governments more money to mail ballots or not treat ballots as first-class mail. Tester said the voting rights of millions of Americans, including Montanans, are depending on the Postal Service's ability to deliver mail in a timely fashion. On Thursday, the president said he will block any new coronavirus relief bill if it includes emergency support for the Postal Service. Tester said the bill should include $25 billion in emergency funding for the Postal Service. Tester also wrote his own letter on Thursday to DeJoy asking about reports that mail collection boxes are being removed in Montana cities. Senator Tester said the Postal Service is a, quote, crucial lifeline for rural Montanans and to ensure everyone has access to voting. The Lewis and Clark County Commission is moving forward with a $1 million agreement that will preserve open space east of Helena. Commissioners approved funding from the county's open lands bond for a conservation easement on the Potter Ranch in the Spokane Hills. Landowners Douglas and Rhonda Potter have been working with Prickly Pear Land Trust on the easement. The agreement ensures the 3,000-acre ranch will continue its agricultural operations and won't be broken up or developed. Prickly Pear Land Trust said this parcel stands out because of its size, its wildlife, and its visibility around the Helena Valley.
I can see us in the future pointing to this project as, you know, the prime example of what a conservation easement is. You can drive past it and just, you know, you can still see antelope out here and see elk right from your car, and that's going to be there forever. And, you know, and you can see it from the middle of Main Street in East Helena.
Some members of the public expressed concern about the easement because it does not include a provision for public access. Leaders said that full public access isn't appropriate now because it remains a working ranch, but that it was still important to keep the land from being developed. The Bureau of Land Management has extended the comment period on the Scratch Gravel Hills project to October 6th. The BLM is considering the development of 40 miles of new multi-use trails that would be open to biking, equestrian use, and electric bikes with less than 1 horsepower. The plan was initially released for public comment back on June 24th. Lewis and Clark County commissioners asked for an extension on the public comment period back in July after they heard from a number of people stating that BLM hasn't provided enough time for some people to respond to the plan. The Roosevelt County Sheriff's Office is trying to locate a person in connection with the kidnapping of an infant Thursday in Wolf Point. According to the Sheriff's Office, at about 3 p.m., Angus Buckles, also known as Angus Little, allegedly took the child in Wolf Point and left in an unknown direction. She was last seen driving a white 2007 Dodge Caravan with Montana license plate CRF 716. Buckles is 57 years old with brown eyes and long brown hair. She's approximately 5'6" and 130 pounds. No other information has been released at this point. If you have any information on her whereabouts, you're asked to contact the Sheriff's Office by calling 911, and they caution that Buckles shouldn't be approached. The Sheriff's Office says that an Amber Alert should be issued. Well, time now is 5:06. Still to come on Montana this morning, more changes for Montana high school sports. We'll break down those details next.
And later in your weather forecast, a lot of green on the map here today. It's looking good, but what we're showing you is water vapor imagery and lack thereof. That huge high pressure ridge headed our way, so some hot and dry conditions to follow. Morning forecast is coming up very shortly.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Good morning. We're glad to have you along on this Friday. Happy Friday to you. It's August 14th. We're looking live over the capital city, and we're so glad to have you with us. It is 5:09. Well, just days before the first Montana High School Association's first sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. The MHSA Executive Board approved a handful of proposals on Thursday, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to one-day events only. That decision could postpone the beginning of competitions, but also provide some extra time to evaluate moving forward.
It allows those schools to have some time to make sure to say, okay, where are we at? Maybe have an extra week of practice instead of pushing that too in these days and times. That's probably a good thing. And then also to make sure that they can work like with their local health departments and that on regard to fans and fan attendance.
Other classifications were also approved canceling their non-conference schedules if they choose, while MHSA will also require facial coverings for all players, coaches, and officials not currently competing. Days after the Big Sky Conference announced it would postpone its fall schedule to the spring, the Frontier Conference is now following suit. Frontier Conference Commissioner Kent Paulson stated in a release that the league will join dozens across the country in preparing for a spring schedule. Despite originally losing 3 out-of-state teams, the Frontier planned to continue with a 5-team 8-game schedule this fall, but stated, quote, administrators have diligently continued to evaluate high-risk sports and have exhausted every resource available in making this decision, end quote. You can find more details on the cancellation of the Frontier Conference's fall football schedule at montanasports.com. And continuing coverage from the Big Sky Conference's latest announcement, MTN's Jack Ginsburg caught up with some of those coaches at UM.
On Thursday morning, the conference announced the move, meaning Grizz soccer, volleyball, golf, and cross country will now attempt to play in the spring season as well. While it may have been a decision many saw coming, both the soccer and volleyball head coaches here at the University of Montana are happy they finally have some direction.
I think just hearing it out loud and sort of seeing the writing on the wall in a more official way, rather than focusing on it as a loss or as some sort of like heavy feeling in the moment, it also made me more excited to just be able to move forward.
We all just want direction and leadership. Tell me what to do, I'll do it. That's what our student athletes want. That's what we wanted. You've told us what to do, fine, here we go. So can't whine about it, just got to accept it.
Regardless of the move, both coaches believe it was the right decision and avoided the potential of a fall season being shut down midway through the season.
There were parts of me that just wanted to play, and I think large parts of our athletes that wanted to get out there and do what they do. But I think when your perspective widens and you see the challenges across the national landscape, there wasn't a lot of clear ways and paths to where it was going to be feasible, especially with the amount of testing that we would have to do. So I trust the decisions that have been made, and I feel like safety has been the #1 priority for all the decision makers, and they have a lot of information that I don't, and so I trust their decisions, and I feel like just having a decision gives us more confidence than anything.
However, the push to spring can majorly affect some programs. Luckily for volleyball and soccer here, they have no one graduating in winter. But if spring doesn't work out, it could get very messy.
We are in a spot where you got Claire Howard, who's close to setting the Big Sky record for shutouts. She's already in grad school. Does she want to come back? Yes. Can we financially afford to bring her back? I don't know. And so it's we have a list of people that could potentially want to come back. Whether or not we could actually make it work is a completely separate question.
We'll continue to update you on any of these fall sports that are pushed to the spring, and we could expect to hear a decision on winter sports in the next coming weeks or even month or two. Reporting in Missoula, Jack Ginsburg, MTN Sports.
Well, up next, your weather forecast, we're talking about a slight little increase in temperatures here today and a little bit more sun to work with. Looking at sunny skies, still cool though as we wake up this morning, 55 by 8 o'clock, looking at the early 70s. Trying to get into the 80s this afternoon. As for the capital, low 50s as you're heading out the door here this morning, right about room temperature for the noon hour, and again 80s this afternoon. But we are tracking a big warm up. We'll tell you about that next.
Are you? Storm Tracker weather starts now with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Hopefully your day's off to a great start. All right, as we kick things off here bright and early, a little bit of wind again to deal with today. Could see an occasional gust at 20 miles per hour, but likely even less wind than what we saw yesterday. This afternoon will present a little bit better chance for some stronger wind. And as for today's smoke plume forecast, we are getting kind of a southwesterly breeze, so a little bit of that smoke is going to kind of drift across south central Montana. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a light haze throughout Great Falls, Helena and Lewistown, but most of that heavier stuff is going to stay to our south. Currently, we're looking at 46 degrees as you're waking up. It is going to be a brisk one. 51 degrees in the capital. Last night's little storm system that kicked off some showers into south central Montana, continuing to exit the region, mid-50s at this hour in northeastern Montana. Today's fire weather forecast, again combining wind, humidity, and temperature. Not bad. Still some areas of concern, most of which are going to be basically from Lewistown north to Havre and then northeast over toward Glasgow. That's where it'll be the windiest, the driest, and the hottest today, and that's kind of where most of the fire concern will be. But still, there is a little bit of fire variable throughout all of north central Montana. We'll see daytime highs today at 81, so a little tiny bit warmer than yesterday. Looking at the mid-80s throughout the eastern plains. Overnight lows still a little bit on the brisk side, looking at 48 tonight in Great Falls, 50 in the capital. A couple of mid-40s there west of the divide, touching into the low 50s in northeastern Montana. Really the big talking point tomorrow is we're going to start to see our next pressure system building in, that being an area of high pressure. As that ridge builds in, temperatures are going to continue to climb through the weekend and get downright sweltering next week. So 86 degrees on Saturday in Great Falls, 87 in the capital, a couple of 90s throughout the eastern plains, and enjoy these slightly cooler, more average temperatures while you can, because they're going to get hot. Sunday, we're going to start to really see those temperatures bump up. 92 in Great Falls, 93 in the capital, mid-90s there throughout the eastern plains. And you notice when we look way out west, that's the leading edge of that high pressure ridge. They're seeing the high 90s and triple digits. That's headed our way, so it is going to be a very, very hot one. Here's how that's going to play out for us. Big high pressure ridge is going to continue to amplify on Sunday. Temperatures are expected to spike and peak probably Tuesday into Wednesday of this next week, and you'll notice first part of this week that high pressure ridge does not go anywhere. It literally just stays camped out. Forecast models are showing it starting to break down a little bit maybe Wednesday. Not 100% sold on that just yet. We'll kind of see how this thing plays out. But overall, here's how those temperatures are going to react. to that high pressure ridge. 81, then warming up Saturday to 86. That's pretty close to average. Then next week rolls around. Well into the 90s, mid-90s, both Monday and Tuesday, maybe a little bit cooler on Wednesday, depending on how that ridge reacts. 82 to kick things off here in the capital, then well into the 80s and 90s through the weekend, mid-90s next week, Shannon.
Jason, thanks. Stocks were mixed on Thursday. The Dow fell 80 points. The Nasdaq rose 30. The S&P 500 was down 6. The Trump administration is rolling back another Obama-era environmental rule, this one designed to limit methane leaks from oil and gas fields and pipelines. The move by the Environmental Protection Agency eliminates the need to check for leaks twice a year. Some states and environmentalist activists pledged to sue the administration and say the EPA's own analysis shows the rule change will lead to increased emissions of greenhouse gases. While many businesses are struggling to stay afloat amid the coronavirus, one industry is experiencing a sudden boom. Sewing machine sellers are now scrambling to keep up with the surge in demand. Self-isolation has inspired many to take up sewing, searching for a way to fill the time. But a more obvious trigger for the sewing boom is the demand for masks. This comes after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued some new recommendations to wear them. And a new feature coming to Netflix could be a big help to blind and deaf viewers. It will allow users to adjust playback speeds, as in making a show play at a faster or slower rate. For the blind, this feature is useful when a narrator is describing what's happening in a scene. A board member of the National Federation for the Blind says at normal play rates, those parts can seem drawn out, and it'll be useful to speed it up. For deaf viewers, slowing down a show can give more time to read subtitles. Right now, the feature is only available for Android phones. Netflix says it's testing it for iOS and its website. 5:21 here on your Friday morning. Still to come on Montana this morning, the next wave of charging technology could be crawling to your phone soon. We'll explain next.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Welcome back. It's 5:23. Thanks for joining us this morning. Researchers in Korea have invented a case that helps a smartphone crawl to a charger when the battery is low. The scientists at Seoul National University's lab there call their invention the case crawler.
Yeah, so supposedly right now the case crawler can only move forward in one direction of the charging pad. In the future, developers hope that the miniature robot will be able to return to its owner when fully charged. The case crawler adds a little over a half an inch to the phone's size, but it can carry more than 13 times its own weight.
Wow. The case crawler is not on the market yet, but it does demonstrate the potential of using small robots in real-world applications.
What a waste.
I still think it's creepy.
Well, it's not even creepy, but I just feel like it's okay. So you're sitting there, your phone's on the coffee table, and your charger's like across. What is it? Just
It goes. Yep.
Just right off the edge.
Yep, to the charger. Yep.
There's so many details being left out of this. I don't understand. Like,
What other questions do you
well,
have?
okay, if it's on a table, does it just shimmy its way off the table?
I guess. I don't
Okay,
know.
like and like, how does it turn? If it can only go straight, how does
Yeah.
it, like, if it gets off course?
I
how
think
does
it just
straighten
means it can't
itself?
go like backwards right now. I don't know. I
What if
literally
you're in
only
the
know
other
what's
room?
in there. It goes to the other
I
room.
mean, and if you're that close to your charger, can't you just literally move your phone to the charger?
I don't. Yeah,
I'm
these
so
are all good
very
questions.
confused.
These are all good
Okay.
questions.
Currently, downtown Great Falls looking at 46 degrees right now. A little bit of a breeze out of the southwest at 12 miles per hour on the U.S. Bank ICAM. Currently in the capital, still pretty dark outside on the Opportunity Bank ICAM. That's 51 degrees there and calm winds right now. Visibility looking good though this morning, no pressure change. As for your forecast today, looking at 81 degrees, plenty of sunshine in Great Falls. Skosh warmer there in the capital, but overall sunny skies and getting hot over the next couple of days as we head into the weekend. Tomorrow, Great Falls 86 degrees, staying dry. Tomorrow in the capital, looking at sunny skies and 87.
Maybe it's for when you're really tired and you don't want to get
But
up.
then you wake up and you're like, where's my phone? Where?
It's
gone.
Then it's returned to you charged. I don't know. No. All right. Well, wind and solar energy is steadily replacing coal, and Midwest farmers assessed losses after storms flattened cornfields.
Yeah, Jane King is in the Big Apple with all those stories and more.
Farmers across a wide swath of Iowa, Indiana, and Illinois are dealing with the heartbreaking aftermath of a rare windstorm that turned what was looking like a record corn crop into losses for many. Now, before the storm hit, the U.S. Department of Agriculture had been expecting a record national corn crop this year. Iowa was to provide about 18% of that production. Farmers still assessing the entire damage. Well, Cater Exports is recalling certain shrimp products because of potential salmonella contamination. That's according to the FDA. Frozen, cooked, peeled, and deveined shrimp sold in 1 pound, 1.5 pound, and 2 pound bags were recalled. The shrimp was distributed nationwide from late February to mid-May, according to the FDA, and it's believed that most, if not all, of the shrimp has already been consumed. If there's any remaining shrimp, it has been put on hold to be further evaluated. Well, Daimler will settle U.S. emissions charges for $2.2 billion. That is a fraction of the $20 billion that Volkswagen paid. Now, this is to settle accusations that Mercedes-Benz cars and vans sold in the U.S. were programmed to cheat on emissions tests. And solar and wind power, as a share of global electricity, has doubled since 2015. That's according to a new report by the climate-focused think tank Ember. It now makes up about 1/10 of the global power mix, reaching close to the same amount as nuclear power plants. Coal generation dropped a record-breaking 8% in the first half of this year compared to last year. From New York, I'm Jane King with your Ag and Energy Report.
Coming up this half hour, Montanans will have another big decision to make on the ballots this fall, the latest issue to head to voters. Plus, more changes for Montana high school sports. We'll break down those details. And later, celebrating a century, a downtown building marks a milestone. We'll have a look at its significance. Montana This Morning starts now.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday to you. We're glad to have you along. I'm Shannon New.
Yeah, I'm Jason Laird. It's going to be a cool start to the day. If you're just now waking up, maybe you had the window open last night.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah,
Give the
except
AC a
it's
break.
chilly. That's right.
Yeah,
You'd probably
some
be a
good
little
fresh
too
air.
cold this morning.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Extra
chilly as you're
blankets.
waking up. But it is going to get hot through the weekend and first part of this next week. So here's what you're looking at as you're just kind of cracking open your eyes there, looking at about 46 degrees. Yeah, that's right. 46 in Great Falls right now. Some wind out of the southwest at about 12 miles per hour. Currently in the capital, we're looking at 51 degrees for a temperature, humidity at 50%, so relatively dry there, and gonna trend pretty dry through the weekend and next week. Opportunity Bank ICAM not reading much in the way of wind there. As for Fort Benton, we're looking at 48 degrees downtown right now. Humidity sitting at 54%. Some wind out of the south at 5 miles per hour. Allergies pretty much unchanged here. Grass still the troublesome one, and a little bit of cotton out there from the trees. Still mold and ragweed looking good as well. Okay. As we look at those weather headlines, mild temperatures, enjoy them while they last, still trending below average today. They are going to continue to increase. Fire danger is also going to increase as some very, very hot temperatures head our way, and that's all going to be due to that area of high pressure, which we'll show you momentarily. Very dry and hot conditions headed our way next week. More on your extended forecast very shortly, Shannon.
Jason, thank you. Time now is 5:31. Montanans already have a general election ballot crowded with high-profile races for many statewide offices. But now they have another big issue to decide, legalization of marijuana. MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison has the details.
Late Thursday, it became official. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the November 3rd ballot for voters to decide. Initiative 190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It also has a companion measure, Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could not be banned from possessing marijuana. The group behind the effort, New Approach Montana, collected more than 130,000 signatures of registered Montana voters to qualify both measures for the general election ballot. I-190 also would levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana in Montana, and supporters of the measure say that will generate $48 million a year by 2025. Campaign spokesman Pepper Peterson says New Approach's research shows that a majority of Montanans support legalization of marijuana. And in less than 2 months, Montana voters will start deciding whether that's true or not. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Just days before the first Montana High School Association's first sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. The MHSA Executive Board approved a handful of proposals on Thursday, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to one-day events only. That decision could postpone the beginning of competitions, but also provides some extra time to evaluate moving forward.
It allows those schools to have some time to make sure to say, okay, where are we at? Maybe have an extra week of practice. Instead of pushing that too in these days and times, that's probably a good thing. And then also to make sure that they can work like with their local health departments and that on regard to fans and fan attendance.
Other classifications were also approved canceling their non-conference schedules if they choose, while the MHSA will also require facial coverings of all players, coaches, and officials not currently competing. Days after the Big Sky Conference announced it would postpone its fall schedule to the spring, the Frontier Conference has now followed suit. Frontier Conference Commissioner Kent Paulson stated in a release that the league will join dozens across the country in preparing for a spring schedule. Despite originally losing its 3 out-of-state teams, the Frontier Conference planned to continue with a 5-team, 8-game schedule this fall, but stated, quote, administrators have diligently continued to evaluate high-risk sports and have exhausted every resource available in making this decision. You can find more details on the cancellation of the Frontier Conference's fall football schedule at montanasports.com. Well, as coronavirus continues, the search for a vaccine does as well, only with the help of a Whitefish native. MTN's Maren Sues spoke with him to find out what goes into the research and what it could mean.
Whitefish High School graduate Colin Fields is working tirelessly to come up with a coronavirus vaccine.
To make sure that they meet criteria to be enrolled in the study, and then to monitor them after they receive the investigational vaccine to make sure that their side effects are being evaluated and whether or not there are any serious side effects to the vaccine that need to be halting criteria for the study to proceed. So my main role is to serve as a liaison in some ways to the study itself by enrolling patients.
Colin Fields graduated from Whitefish High School in 2001 and went on to become a family physician in Seattle. Always having an interest in medicine, Fields is currently working on a vaccine for coronavirus with Kaiser Permanente, who was awarded the first phase of vaccine research, and he says research is going well.
From the time that the genome was developed to the time that we administered the first investigational vaccine was just 66 days. And that's really completely remarkable to have developed a vaccine and administered it to a human being in that short period of time.
Fields says the first phase of the study was a success and was conducted on 45 volunteers ages 18 to 55.
The vaccine was fully capable of producing neutralizing antibodies and it had a very well-tolerated safety profile.
He says the vaccine works on combating the novel part of the virus, which is what gives it its signature crown shape. Fields says phase 3 is to test the vaccine in a larger group of 30,000 people.
Does it actually change the clinical course, either by protecting people in the group that receive the vaccine or mitigating the effects of the infection?
He says the study is done ethically, and at any point, if anything in the study changes or a volunteer wants to leave, they can. As of right now, Fields does not have an estimate of when the vaccine will be ready to be released to the public. In Whitefish, Maren Sue, MTN News.
5:36 here. Happy Friday to you. Coming up on Montana this morning, changing landscapes. More housing options will be going up near one of Great Falls' most iconic markers.
And later in your weather forecast, an area of low pressure that has brought the more mild temperatures across the state, that is going to move on out, and we're going to get a huge high pressure ridge rebuilding across the state this weekend and first part of next week. That is going to bump temperatures significantly, taking them into the mid-90s next week. More on your forecast is coming up shortly.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Welcome back. Thanks for making us a part of your Friday morning. About 21 minutes away from the top of the hour, 5:39 here on this August 14th. Well, Great Falls community members gathered for the unveiling of new details surrounding the Milwaukee Depot project. a downtown housing project in the works to begin this fall. Named for its neighbor, the Milwaukee station, these apartments will offer the advantage of being located near some of Great Falls' biggest attractions like the River's Edge Trail, Missouri River, and downtown. The project will also feature spaces open to the general public like a coffee bar and gym. Big Sky Select Properties principal Brian Linseth described these units as a place to live, work, and play. He added that while construction isn't anticipated to the end of late 2021 or early 2022, the facility would offer an ideal space to work from home should people need to do that at that time.
One of our specific goals is to provide a place where people could live, work, and play, even in an environment affected by COVID. So we've taken great care to make each of our units at least a one-bedroom, include spaces that would be amenable for people working from home.
And as the project progresses, Big Sky Select Properties hopes to have more resources available to the public, indicating what that final product will look like. Well, 100 years ago, Pete Johnson opened the Johnson Hotel in downtown Great Falls. It's a building that still stands at the heart of downtown Great Falls today. MTN's Lindsay Hyatt spoke with the grandchildren of the building's original owners, as well as the current tenants, to find out the story behind this historical 5-story structure.
The lobby was huge.
And then the bar was back there.
100 years ago, the Johnson Building wasn't just a hotel, but a temporary home for local travelers and the Johnson grandchildren.
We were here all the time, running throughout the building, upstairs, downstairs. They put us in a special room where nobody else would rent.
404.
Yeah.
In its century-long residence downtown, the building has taken on many uses. First a hotel in 1920, then a 3-story restaurant housing retail space and 2 apartments in 1968, to the business, retail, and residential hub it is today.
We built it out of concrete. We knew it would be here for a long time.
Because of the building's long history in Great Falls, current resident Bill Salonen decided to dig into its past.
I was just curious, so I started doing some research at the History Museum. And then we connected with the Johnson family,
who helped him create a timeline of the Johnson Building's history and learn more about the building's founder.
Well, I think the thing that I appreciated the most was just who Pete Johnson was.
A Montanan, a county commissioner, and a waymaker in his community.
He was a pillar. He was a pillar of the community.
A pillar who left behind another strong structure to stand in his place, providing a space for the community to relive old memories and make new ones for centuries to come.
I run into people all the time in Great Falls that used to come to Shell's Townhouse or used to come down from the High Line as a family to stay here at the hotel and to shop. And so I think just the association that our community has with the hotel itself is really meaningful.
In Great Falls, Lindsay Hyatt, MTN News.
Well, up next in your weather forecast, make sure you enjoy the cooler weather while it lasts, because temperatures are going to bump up to the next level as we head into next week. So yesterday it was just 74 in Great Falls. That's 10 degrees below average. And again, those temperatures are going to get well above average here over the next couple of days. Today we're really going to struggle to even get into the 70s. We'll hit about 73 around the noon hour, maybe a couple of 80s this afternoon. The capital yesterday, 76 degrees was the high. Again, 10 degrees below average there. And today, staying cool. More on your forecast is next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everybody. Still tracking a little bit of wind today. Not bad, a little bit breezier this afternoon. An occasional wind gust up to 20 miles per hour. Currently sitting at 12 miles per hour in Great Falls. Looking at about 8 over into eastern Montana. A little bit more brisk along the High Line, but nothing too crazy. Just enough wind to kind of move in a little bit of smoke. A lot of that smoke coming from the west coast, but of course we do have a couple of active fires there. Southwestern Montana, so some of that smoke kind of staying more to our south. Might see a light haze from Helena to Great Falls to Lewistown. Last night's little rainmaker continuing to move off into the Dakotas. 46 degrees right now in Great Falls. Rather brisk as you're waking up. 51 in the capital. Looking at the mid 50s in northeastern Montana. So your fire weather forecast today. Again, this graphic kind of cool, combining wind, temperature, and humidity level. And it's nowhere near where we've been over the past couple of days. Obviously staying a little bit cooler, but humidity level still a little bit low and still breezy at times. So the highest fire concerns are going to be mostly along the High Line, then into north northeastern Montana this afternoon, just slightly elevated. No fire weather warnings or watches issued at this time, but just still something to keep in the back of your mind, especially producers as you're out in the field working on harvest and whatnot. 81 today on tap for Great Falls, 82 in the capital, so still staying well below average all across the state, mid-80s in northeastern Montana. Your overnight lows tonight still a little bit on the cool side, 48 in Great Falls, 50 degrees in the capital, looking at the low 50s in northeastern Montana. But really the big talking point here as we head through the weekend is building high pressure. And when I say building high pressure, very strong high pressure ridge is going to build in. So we're going to start to see that amplify on Saturday. That's going to take temperatures to pretty much right on track with average, 86 in Great Falls, 87 in the capital. A couple of 80s and 90s there throughout the eastern plains into northeastern Montana, Glasgow at 88 on Saturday. But Sunday is when we're going to start on that 90-degree trend and ride that train for at least about 3-4 days. You'll notice well off to our west, a couple of triple digits forecasted. That's that hot air that's going to be headed our way. So here's how it's going to play out for us. Again, high pressure ridge really starting to amplify on Sunday, moving that cooler air mass on its way. We're really going to see the hot temperatures Monday, Tuesday of this next week. Forecast models are suggesting this ridge might break down a little bit on Wednesday, but again, we'll have to kind of keep our eye out on that. I'm not 100% confident that it's going to break down for us. 81 degrees and sunny here today, continuing to warm up through the weekend, getting to the 90s on Sunday, mid-90s. That potentially could be the hottest day we've had all year long here into Great Falls. As for the capital, 82 degrees here today, looking at the upper 80s, transitioning to the 90s, staying hot as we head through the weekend. Maybe finally cooler by Thursday, but I'm, again, not 100% sold on that. 77 degrees in Lewistown here today, and then getting up into the 90s as we head through the weekend and staying really hot, at least through Tuesday, Wednesday, Shannon.
Jason, thanks. 5:48 here on your Friday. Still to come. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a UFO. Batman. It's Batman. How the military is responding to some unidentified flying objects. Next.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Welcome back, 5:51 here. Happy Friday to you. So after video released by the Pentagon showing unidentified flying objects zooming past military jets.
Where?
That's just undisclosed.
Well, but I don't see anything.
The U.S., it's like
That?
highlighted, I think. Yeah. So the U.S. is officially, get this, creating a UFO task force.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Like, really? This is a real thing?
This is a real story.
Okay, so the Pentagon
not fake news.
is expected to make a formal announcement in the coming days. The task force will investigate where the UFOs came from.
Yeah, the sightings have long been a concern for military bases who say the aircrafts pose a risk of interfering with jets during military exercises. Some U.S. officials speculate the UFOs could just be drones, while others wonder if they're from another planet.
Why would any alien in their right mind want to come to Earth right now? Honestly.
Stay away.
Honestly. No way that is an alien. They're like, nope, not touching that.
Well, UFO, remember, it's just unidentified object. So
stupid.
That doesn't mean it's an alien.
I don't know. Well, okay, I suppose
just
it's not an
not
alien,
known.
but
Yeah.
UFO task force.
UFO task force.
Man.
Do you want to join?
I would totally join that.
Yeah.
I would
feel like you'd
totally
be a
do
good
that.
member for that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I would probably expose too much, though. They'd feed me full of top
be a
secret
whistleblower?
information. Yeah, and I'd be like, no, we're just testing something new. Don't worry about it. I mean, that's honestly what it is. I mean, it's like government testing some top secret product. Do you know, I watched a documentary, this was years ago, watched a documentary on this new, some sort of stealthy ship, right, that they were testing. And long story short, to test it and see how stealthy it was, they sailed it off of like the California coast for like 2 years just to see if it would go reported.
Oh yeah, you've told me about this.
Yeah, and this was on the History Channel. This isn't fake. And anyways, yeah, nobody ever went on to report it. So I mean, there you go. Like, I seriously think most of that stuff flying around the sky is just like a big test project. But
Well, they probably wouldn't be telling us they're forming a task force if it's a test project.
well, yeah, it's divert your attention.
Well, yeah, divert your attention. I get it.
Divert your
but
attention. Yeah.
They're also
This is
highlighting
going
it.
on, so look over here. Remember,
Well-
it's the old Roman tactic. We talked about this
Yeah,
the other day.
it's true.
Throw a bunch of people in a big pen with tigers, and that's when you make all the political decisions while everybody's entertained by
So
people
Tiger
getting eaten by
King?
tigers. Yeah, exactly. There you go. See, there you go. Tiger King happened right before the pandemic. Crazy
There
how
you
that
go.
works. No,
Well, we'll keep our eye on the
Anyways,
the task force here for the
yeah,
UFOs.
Step down off my soapbox now. 46 degrees. As for the Capitol right now, looking at 51 on the Opportunity Bank ICAM. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I wonder how you get involved with the UFO task force. What kind of
You might
qualifications?
have to be part of the
there's
Pentagon. It's the Pentagon's
yeah, okay,
task force.
Yeah. It's well above my pay grade. Okay, what we do got going on here, a lot of new burn restrictions. Stage 1, pretty much all of the Highline northeastern Montana under Stage 1 burn restrictions, so do keep that in mind there, especially producers if you did have any prescribed burns. 81 in Great Falls today, 82 in the Capitol.
All right, stay with us. Farm and Ranch Report with the Montana Ag Network is next. Coming up this half hour, Montanans will have another big decision to make on the ballots this fall. We'll have the latest issue headed to voters. Plus, Chaudère is adjusting how it will serve its patients right now. And later, more changes for Montana high school sports. We'll break down those details. Montana This Morning starts now.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday. We're glad to have you with us. I'm ready for Friday.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is that why you just hit me with an iPad?
Okay. He was mocking.
I did know. Would I ever do such a thing like that?
Yeah, I'm sure no one believes that you would do that.
Never.
Never.
Never. I would never poke fun.
Yeah, the things that happened during the commercial, he was mocking me as I was reading our headlines. So just, swift hit with the iPad there. Yeah. Straighten him out.
Yeah, it was pretty good little smack. Anyways,
yeah, you're
all right,
welcome.
on the weather scene here this morning, we are still tracking a couple of fire variables. We pretty much got all the checks marked here today. Temperature a factor, dry air, humidity less than 20%. Gusty wind, not terrible, but still going to see occasional gusts around 20 miles an hour and a lot of dry vegetation. Currently in Great Falls, we're sitting at 48 brisk degrees downtown, looking at the U.S. Bank ICAM there. As for the Capitol, pretty calm wind right now, 48 degrees, humidity at 56% on the Opportunity Bank ICAM. And in Geyser, starting to see a nice sunrise there. You'll notice a little bit of haze in the background. Air quality should be fine, but a little bit of haze just kind of drifting in. A lot of that smoke coming from the fires way out on the west coast and the southwest coast there. So mild temperatures trending below average today, increased fire danger, and some strong high pressure is going to build over the weekend. I'll tell you what that means for next week coming up shortly. Shannon.
All right, Jason, thank you. It's 6:02 now, and Montanans already have a general election ballot crowded with high-profile races for many statewide offices. But now they have another big issue to decide, whether or not to legalize marijuana. It became official Thursday. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the November 3rd ballot for voters to decide. Initiative 190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It also has a companion measure, Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could not be banned from possessing marijuana. I-190 would also levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana in Montana, and supporters of the measure say that will generate $48 million a year by 2025. The Lewis and Clark County Commission has voted to move forward with a mail ballot election in November, as they did in the June primary. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian reports on what was behind this decision.
More than 40,000 registered voters in Lewis and Clark County will receive their ballots for the November election by mail. The County Commission voted unanimously Thursday morning to switch to a mail ballot election over concerns about COVID-19. Governor Steve Bullock gave counties the authority to adopt mail ballots for the general election, as he did in the June primary. Lewis and Clark County officials considered several options for conducting the November election.
We ultimately recommend the mail ballot as the best way to comply with the CDC guidelines that ensure people have the ability to vote without increased risk of coronavirus spread.
Many of the spaces that would typically be used for polling places, like schools or senior facilities, aren't available because of COVID-19, and the pandemic made it tougher to recruit and train election judges. Voters will receive ballots with return postage already included, as in June.
In addition, the county will offer an option to vote in person from October 2nd through Election Day, though the location hasn't yet been finalized. Commissioners also asked election officials to discuss the security of mail-in ballots. Officials check the signature on a received ballot against the signature on a voter's registration. In addition, they have procedures so a person can't vote once in person and once by mail ballot.
Those security measures are things we've had in place, and we've run elections with them already.
We have great accountability with the process that has been given to us today. Voters will have more choice, more opportunity than ever to be able to cast their vote, know that their vote counts, and know that their vote has been counted.
Ballots will be sent out to all active registered voters in the county on October 9th. If you don't receive a ballot, you can contact the Lewis and Clark County Elections Office for assistance. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
During the June primary, all 56 Montana counties adopted mail-in ballots, but for November, several smaller counties have already said they'll hold a polling place for elections. That includes Broadwater County, where officials say they will operate a single polling place in Townsend. Well, next Tuesday, there will be a special Cascade County Commission meeting regarding mail-in ballots. The commission is being asked to vote, authorizing the election administrator to conduct the November 3rd election through mail-in ballots. This is not for public comment. It is within the commissioner's jurisdiction. We'll be sure to keep you posted on that outcome. Well, Montana is reporting over 140 new coronavirus cases since Wednesday. A Yellowstone County man in his 60s died Wednesday, attributed to COVID-19. Lewis and Clark County reports 5 new cases. Cascade County reports 3 new cases. More than 4,000 people have recovered so far. Chaudere Children's Hospital is preparing for their fall semester with school-based services. MTN's Alexia Guayo spoke with the hospital on how they plan to provide remote instruction for their students.
Chaudere Children's Hospital says they are fully operational and visitors can see those in the residential unit. They hope to maintain this status through the wintertime as they purchase an Abbott point-of-care testing system, which can reveal COVID-19 and influenza results in 15 minutes.
We're excited to have the ability to test staff as well for COVID-19 or influenza, and that way we can keep communicable diseases out of the hospital.
Chaudere says they have not had anyone on their campus test positive for the virus, which leaves the go-ahead for Chaudere to continue their school-based services in partnership with the Helena Public Schools reopening plan. The director of the services said their reopening plan is similar to Helena Public Schools.
Our safety plan is really similar across programs with a few minor differences. So our CSCT teams are going to be working back in their identified public school.
The CSCT program stands for Comprehensive School and Community Treatment, which provides additional help for students if agreed between parents and school admin. The day treatment schooling located at Chaudere will be handled in a stricter manner, as Jenna says there will be more screenings implemented.
You know, Chaudere, I think, is uniquely and well positioned to have kiddos return to school because we were fully operational throughout the pandemic. You know, we never closed our doors. And our teachers kept teaching, our therapists kept doing therapy. I think they're advantaged in this, right? They already know the policies and procedures for masks.
Chaudere does not have an official start date for their day treatment program. In Helena, I'm Lexi Guayo, MTN News.
It's 6:07 here. Happy Friday to you. Coming up on Montana this morning, changes due to coronavirus continue to unfold for students this fall. Coming up next, well, the latest look at the fall sports season.
And later in your weather forecast, if you wanted to head out to the water here today, we're looking at sunny skies on the Missouri River near Cascade, low 80s, little bit of wind at times, cubic feet per second for this chunk of the Missouri River, sitting at 45-30, and the height right now just under 7 feet. More on your forecast coming up shortly.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Good morning to you. Happy Friday. A live look out over our capital city this morning. It is August 14th. A little bit cooler start to the day again. Time now is 6:10. Well, there's still lots of unanswered questions about the upcoming school year. One of them for some families is how many students will have food and a roof over their heads. In Great Falls, United Way of Cascade County is holding its annual Stuff the Bus campaign, raising money and gathering school supplies for students in our community. As MTN's Zach Shermley explains, the help is needed now more than ever.
Question, is there freshman orientation and are masks required for recess and PE? What about special education students and masks? When will high school schedules be ready?
There are lots of questions about the upcoming school year here in Great Falls.
How can you require masks during PE and not sports? Is there a freshman orientation? We know.
Superintendent Tom Moore holding a Facebook live stream today, hoping
Let me get that answer for you.
to provide some clarity. One big question remains, though, for the many high poverty and food insecure students in Cascade County.
By the end of last year, a lot of the school food pantries had completely run out of supplies.
United Way of Cascade County holding its annual Stuff the Bus campaign today to raise money and donations for the students who need it most. It's a tradition going back 11 years, meant to help the large percentage of high-poverty students in Great Falls Public Schools. The school district seeing unprecedented need this year. Here in Cascade County, for every 5 local students, 2 of them live in poverty. Every school has a food pantry but one, and district officials tell MTN that the amount of homeless students in recent years has increased. But with the pandemic, those needs are becoming even greater. Volunteers took donations for pencils, paper, notebooks, and yes, masks, which will be required in Great Falls Public Schools after a mandate issued by Governor Bullock yesterday. By the end of last year, there were 475 homeless students in the Great Falls Public School District, 93 of them unaccompanied, which means they're completely on their own. GFPS seeing a steady increase in homelessness over the past decade. The latest available numbers from GFPS also show the number of students on free and reduced lunch has been climbing.
It just highlighted the needs of our families and our communities within our community was great and was growing even faster than at times we could plan.
Lance Boyd, the district's newly appointed Director of Student Services, says despite all the challenges, he's grateful for one thing.
The nice part about it, though, is the community support that we get and have in Great Falls is amazing.
In Great Falls, Zach Shermley, MTN News.
Just days before the first Montana High School Association's first sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. The MHSA Executive Board approved a handful of proposals on Thursday, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to one-day events only. That decision could postpone the beginning of competitions, but also provide some extra time to evaluate moving forward. Other classifications were also approved canceling their non-conference schedules if they choose, while the MHSA will also require facial coverings of all players, coaches, and officials not currently competing. The Big Sky Conference announced that all fall sports will be postponed until next spring.
Well, next year weather forecast, even though it's a little bit cooler here today, still going to be tracking a rather high fire danger. We are going to see semi-cooler temperatures here today, but again, the humidity level's very, very low and still enough wind to kind of continue drying things out. As for the capital here today, again, temperatures not really a factor, but low humidity level and a little bit of wind out there to kind of factor in. Northeastern Montana, definitely a little bit higher fire danger in that region, low humidity level, more temperature to work with and a little bit more wind as well. Your forecast is next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Jason Laird.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for spending your Friday with us here. A little bit of wind to talk about, but not quite as much as where we've been over the past couple of days. Still breezy today, and an occasional wind gust up to 20 miles per hour, primarily in northeastern Montana. We are going to see a little bit of smoke across the region. The heavier stuff pretty much staying to our south, but light haze not out of the question for Great Falls, Helena, and Lewistown. Again, most of that you'll notice staying across south central Montana, though. As you're waking up, 48 brisk degrees right now in Great Falls, 40 degrees in Lewistown right now, 37 in Butte. We'll have to call Brett after this, Shannon. I bet he's down there worried about the cold. 53 in northeastern Montana. All right, here's what we got going on today. Again, still a bit of a fire weather concern throughout the state. Very minimal, though, compared to where we've been. We do still have a little bit of wind to work with. Obviously, temperature is not a huge factor here today, but then again, humidity levels. So really the worst fire concern is going to be from Havre to Lewistown into Glasgow. That region will see the strongest wind, lowest humidity levels, that sort of thing. That's going to stick with us and kind of branch out across most of the state. So there's no fire weather watches or fire weather warnings in effect, but definitely something you need to keep in the back of your mind. A lot of producers out working on harvest right now, that sort of thing. 81 in Great Falls today, 82 in the capital, looking at the mid-80s in northeastern Montana for daytime highs. Overnight, still a little bit brisk, 48 degrees in Great Falls, 50 in the capital, low 50s for overnight lows in northeastern Montana. Really the big talking point as we head through Saturday is it's not going to be overly hot. It's going to be pretty much right on track with average. But what is going to happen, big area of high pressure is going to start building in. That's going to offer up clearing skies and a lot hotter temperatures as we kick off the new work week. So tomorrow we're going to be looking at 86 degrees in Great Falls, 87 in the capital, looking at the high 80s and 90s throughout the eastern plains that are mostly sunny skies. Getting pretty darn hot on Sunday. You'll notice off to our west there, a couple of triple digits expected, and that's kind of the leading edge of that high pressure ridge that's going to build across the board. So very, very hot on Sunday and even hotter as we head into Monday and Tuesday. That's all thanks to this big high pressure ridge. Again, anytime we call it a ridge, it's just because that big dome in the pressure levels. And that's just going to kind of camp out for the first part of this next week and not really go too terribly far. Forecast models are suggesting it's going to peak on Tuesday and then kind of break down a little bit as, you know, Wednesday, Thursday plays out. I'm not 100% sold on that yet. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see how it goes for you. But long story short, it's going to get hot. So 81 today, then 86 on Saturday, well into the 90s as we kick off a new work week throughout central Montana. In the capital, 82 degrees today. Plenty of sunshine, hardly a cloud in the sky here, maybe a couple as the new work week plays out, but still very, very hot in the mid-90s there. As for Glasgow and northeastern Montana here today, we're looking at 85 degrees, partly cloudy then on Saturday, still staying a little bit breezy and getting really hot as we head into next week, Shannon.
Jason, thanks. Don't go away. Coming up on Montana This Morning, we're going to be celebrating some birthdays heading into the weekend.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
And welcome back. It's our favorite time of the day, that being birthdays and anniversaries.
We really need some cake every day during this time. Birthday cake.
It'd be a lot of sugar.
I need it.
Sugar. Well, if you, you're drinking the
No, that's normal.
Oh, it's
just
normal green tea?
Green tea.
It has caffeine?
Yeah.
For some reason, the green tea here at the station does not have caffeine in it.
No one's at the station right now, so I get it. We're not like restocking, but all of our tea is decaf tea right now.
That's a sin in this business.
Need some
That's
caffeinated
awful.
green tea.
Anyways, okay, birthdays and anniversaries. Sorry, we digress here. So this one actually submitted by our new director, Jade. And James Bamfield, happy birthday to you. And that is happy birthday to Great Falls' best Ghostbuster.
Ooh, got to hear a story behind that at some point. Yeah.
Halloween here. And Jackson, I believe it's Simons. I love Mom, Dad, Noah, and Keegan. Happy birthday to you as well.
We also want to wish a happy 5th birthday to Liesl Masaccio. I really apologize that I'm probably not saying that correctly, but we sure hope you have a wonderful 5th birthday. That's love, Grandma and Grandpa. And also wishing a happy birthday to Austin Dess. Austin used to work here, actually, and we miss him.
Then he came to his senses.
Then he came to his senses and left to join the military.
Yes. Is it Air Force, right? Air Force? Marine. He's a Marine. That's oh man, I'm sorry. Sorry, Austin, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
Anyways,
no.
Yeah, Marine.
He's a little ray of sunshine, though. He was always just so cheerful and just always brought a lot of fun.
One
to
of the happiest
studio.
individuals. I don't know where he got all his happiness from.
Hopefully he can keep it after boot camp.
No kidding, right? No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, and then thank him for his service, obviously, too, as
Yeah.
well. So, you know the drill with birthdays and anniversaries. Love to hear from you. Just go to the website and submit there. There's a thing right on the homepage.
Homepage, yep. Tab on the homepage. Just click that.
All right, looking down on Fort Benton there from the hill, 46 degrees right now. A little bit of a breeze out of the south at 7 miles per hour. Downtown Great Falls looking nice as always there. US Bank ICAM 48 degrees and humidity sitting at 50%. Going to be trending rather low again today. As for the Capitol on the Opportunity Bank ICAM 48 degrees at this hour. Calm winds and Visibility looking at about 10 miles right now. Okay, so overall air quality, not too darn bad. We might see a little bit of an increase down into south central Montana, or I should say deteriorating air quality, as that's where most of the smoke is anticipated to be today. As for burn bans, we've had a ton of stage 1s added there, primarily along the High Line and into northeastern Montana. As for today's forecast, a pretty comfortable one for the season, looking at the low to mid 80s across the board, a little bit cooler in Cut Bank at 79.
All right, don't go away. Montana This Morning is back in just a moment. Coming up this half hour, more changes for Montana high school sports. We'll break down those details. Plus, Netflix is making some changes to better help those who are blind or deaf. And later, celebrating a century. A downtown building marks a milestone. We'll have a look at its significance. Montana This Morning starts now.
From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good morning. It's Friday. The morning's been flying by so far.
It has, yeah. Normally kind of hit that midpoint. I'm like, oh gosh, another hour
hit
left.
A wall there, but it's already
so far,
our last
so
show
good.
today.
Cooking with gas,
Here we go.
Chugging right along.
Yeah.
So anyways, on the weather scene here this morning, Carter's all distraught and back.
It's his
so
last
it's our
day.
morning director's very last day.
Yeah, very sad.
He's not leaving the station though.
No,
He'll
just
still be around to bother
switching
and
departments.
harass.
Yeah.
So that's good. Well, he's going to get his big TV debut here momentarily.
Yeah, stay tuned.
48 degrees in Great Falls right now on the U.S. Bank iCam, looking downtown in the capital. 48 degrees here today as well on the Opportunity Bank iCam. And looking down Monarch Pass, 48 there as well. Humidity sitting at about 30%, so very dry there. And a little bit of wind out of the west at 13 miles per hour. Okay, fishing forecast looking through the weekend here. Low 80s on tap today, staying dry. Maybe a little bit of wind out there, an occasional wind gust at 20 miles per hour, but pretty mild. A little warmer there on Saturday, and we are going to get hot on Sunday through the first part of next week. Temperatures returning well into the 90s. So today, though, mild temperatures staying below average. Still a bit of an increased fire danger out there with some wind and low humidity, and then high pressure. That is going to be the big talking point as we head through the weekend, first part of next week. We'll talk about how hot it's going to get and show you those details coming up shortly, Shannon.
Jason, thanks. Time now is 6:32. Montanans already have a general election ballot crowded with high-profile races for many statewide offices. But now they have another big issue to decide, whether or not to legalize marijuana. MTN Chief Political Reporter Mike Dennison has details.
Late Thursday, it became official. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the November 3rd ballot for voters to decide. Initiative 190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It also has a companion measure, Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could not be banned from possessing marijuana. The group behind the effort, New Approach Montana, collected more than 130,000 signatures of registered Montana voters to qualify both measures for the general election ballot. I-190 also would levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana in Montana, and supporters of the measure say that will generate $48 million a year by 2025. Campaign spokesman Pepper Peterson says New Approach's research shows that a majority of Montanans support legalization of marijuana. And in less than 2 months, Montana voters will start deciding whether that's true or not. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Montana has had medical marijuana legalized in the state since 2005. Montana's Missing Indigenous Persons Task Force will send a newly approved report to the state legislature. They gathered information from previous years detailing how Native Americans are disproportionately represented among missing people. The task force hopes to use this report to improve reporting and reduce missing Indigenous persons in Montana. The task force also hopes to release a website with a notification form to report missing people. According to the missing persons specialist, as of August 12th, there are 180 active missing persons cases. 44 of them are Indigenous, and out of the 44, 16 have been missing for over a year. Montana is reporting over 140 new coronavirus cases since Wednesday. A Yellowstone County man in his 60s died earlier this week, attributed to COVID-19. Lewis and Clark County reports 5 new cases. Cascade County is reporting 3 new ones. More than 4,000 people have recovered so far. Well, just days before the first Montana High School Association's first sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. The MHSA Executive Board approved a handful of proposals on Thursday, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to one-day events only. That decision could postpone the beginning of competitions, but also provide some extra time to evaluate moving forward.
Those schools to have some time to make sure to say, okay, where are we at? Maybe have an extra week of practice instead of pushing that too in these days and times. That's probably a good thing. And then also to make sure that they can work like with their local health departments and that on regard to fans and fan attendance.
Other classifications were also approved for canceling their non-conference schedules if they choose, while the MHSA will also require facial coverings for all players, coaches, and officials not currently competing. Last week, the Big Sky Conference voted to postpone the upcoming football season until the spring. Now, other fall sports in the conference are following suit. After a recommendation from athletic directors, the conference's President's Council met on Wednesday to confirm that decision. Last month, the conference said it would delay the start of fall sports until at least September 18th. The decision impacts all Big Sky sports that compete in the fall, both for their championship season. That includes men's and women's cross country, soccer, and volleyball. It also affects sports that compete for their non-championship segment. That includes men's and women's golf, softball, and tennis. And days after the Big Sky Conference announced it would postpone its fall schedule to the spring, the Frontier Conference is following suit. Frontier Conference Commissioner Kent Paulson stated in a release that the league will join dozens across the country in preparing for a spring schedule. Despite originally losing its 3 out-of-state teams, the Frontier planned to continue with a 5-team, 8-game schedule this fall, but stated, quote, administrators have diligently continued to evaluate high-risk sports and have exhausted every resource available in making this decision, end quote. You can find some more details on the cancellation of the Frontier Conference's football schedule for the fall at montanasports.com. It's Friday. Happy Friday to you. Time now 6:37. Coming up on Montana This Morning, changing landscapes. More housing options will be going up near one of Great Falls' most iconic markers.
And later in your weather forecast, tracking another cool one today. Not quite as cool as yesterday. If you did want to head out and do a little bit of fishing along Belt Creek, it's just creeping along there. Cubic feet per second at about 86. And the height, well under 3 feet, actually only about 2.5 feet there. Looking at the mid-70s in this area. More on your forecast is coming up shortly.
From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
Good morning. We've got some good news. It is Friday. Happy Friday to you. August 14th, a live look out over the capital city on a cooler start to our morning. Time now, 6:39. Great Falls community members gathered for the unveiling of new details surrounding the Milwaukee Depot project. It's a downtown housing project in the works to start this fall. Named for its neighbor, the Milwaukee Station, these apartments will offer the advantage of being located near some of Great Falls' biggest attractions, like the River's Edge Trail, Missouri River, and downtown. The project will also feature spaces open to the general public, like a coffee bar and gym. Big Sky Select Properties principal Brian Linseth describes these units as a place to live, work, and play. He added that while construction isn't anticipated to start until the end of next year or early 2022, the facility would offer an ideal space to work from home should people need to do that.
One of our specific goals is to provide a place where people could live, work, and play, even in an environment affected by COVID. So we've taken great care to make each of our units at least a 1-bedroom, include spaces that would be amenable for people working from home.
As the project progresses, Big Sky Select Properties hopes to have more resources available to the public, indicating what that final product will look like. 100 years ago, Pete Johnson opened the Johnson Hotel in Great Falls. It's a building that still stands downtown at the heart of the city. MTN's Lindsay Hyatt spoke with grandchildren of the building's original owners, as well as the current tenant, to find out the story behind this historical 5-story structure.
The lobby was huge.
And then the bar was back there.
100 years ago, the Johnson Building wasn't just a hotel, but a temporary home for local travelers and the Johnson grandchildren.
We were here all the time, running throughout the building, upstairs, downstairs. They put us in a special room where nobody else would rent.
404.
Yeah.
In its century-long residence downtown, the building has taken on many uses. First a hotel in 1920, then a 3-story restaurant housing retail space and 2 apartments in 1968, to the business, retail, and residential hub it is today.
We built it out of concrete. We knew it would be here for a long, long, long time.
Because of the building's long history in Great Falls, current resident Bill Salonen decided to dig into its past.
I was just curious, so I started doing some research at the History Museum, and then we connected with the Johnson family,
who helped him create a timeline of the Johnson Building's history and learn more about the building's founder.
Well, I think the thing that I appreciated the most was just who Pete Johnson was.
A Montanan, a county commissioner, and a waymaker in his community.
He was a pillar. He was a pillar of the community.
A pillar who left behind another strong structure to stand in his place, providing a space for the community to relive old memories and make new ones for centuries to come.
I run into people all the time in Great Falls that used to come to Shellstown House or used to come down from the High Line as a family to stay here at the hotel and to shop. And so I think just the association that our community has with the hotel itself is really meaningful.
In Great Falls, Lindsay Hyatt, MTN News.
Up next, your weather forecast. We are still tracking a little bit of wind today. Nothing quite as strong as where we've been over the past couple of days. Some active fires obviously in western Montana and way off the west coast, actually drawing a little bit of smoke across the region. Most of it's going to stay south of Helena and Lewistown, maybe slightly hazy conditions in and around Great Falls. As for burn restrictions, we've had a whole slew of stage 1 burn restrictions issued along the High Line, north central Montana there as well, and a couple of local burn bans in our area. Your forecast is next.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Jason Laird.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully your day's off to a great start. Still a little bit of wind to deal with today. We'll see an occasional wind gust, maybe up to 20 miles per hour, but not too bad. 10 miles per hour in Great Falls, 6 in Lewistown, calm in the capital. And with that wind, as we just showed you, a little bit of smoke still drifting throughout south central Montana here today. Could see an occasional hazy sky or two throughout central Montana. 48 degrees right now as you're heading out the door. Rather brisk start to the day, all due to that cooler air kind of camping out over top of the state. 48 in the capital and 40 degrees right now in Lewistown, looking at the low 50s in northeastern Montana. Fire weather concerns today, not crazy bad, but still something to keep in the back of your mind. Again, this graphic combining temperature, humidity level, and then the wind factor. So we'll see a little bit of an increase in the fire weather concerns along the High Line from Havre to Lewistown and to Glasgow. That's going to be the breeziest and or driest area of the state here as the day plays out and kind of taking us into this afternoon as well. We'll see daytime highs at 81 in Great Falls, 82 in the capital, mid-80s throughout the eastern plains, a little bit cooler in Lewistown at 78 degrees. Overnight lows still on the cool side for the season this evening, about 48 degrees in Great Falls, 50 in the capital, and looking at the low 50s in northeastern Montana as well. Really the big talking point this weekend is a strong high pressure ridge is going to start building over the state. That's going to offer up clear skies and really hot temperatures as we head through the weekend. So not terrible tomorrow, mid 80s, so right on track with average for a good chunk of central and north central Montana, with a slightly hotter mix there throughout eastern Montana, about 90 degrees in Jordan. But then Sunday, that's when temperatures are expected to return to the 90s. Low 90s for central Montana, touching into the mid 90s along the High Line, mid 90s throughout the eastern plains. And notice off here to our west, even a couple of triple digits in the mix. That's going to be the leading edge of that high pressure ridge. So as that ridge continues to build on Sunday, it's really going to kind of peak and hit its peak point, I guess you could say, Tuesday of this next week. So in other words, very, very hot temperatures to take us into the first part of the work week. And you'll notice it's really not going too terribly far. Forecast models are suggesting that it's going to start kind of crunching down a little bit on Wednesday into Thursday. But that's something, again, I'm not 100% sold on. I think it's a pretty strong ridge, and We'll have to see if it actually does end up breaking down. We'll keep you posted on that. So today, looking at 81 degrees in Great Falls. A little bit hotter than on Saturday, well into the 90s, 95 degrees Monday and Tuesday of this next week. In the capital, looking at 82 today. Plenty of sunshine through the weekend, getting hot then on Sunday with hot weather continuing into this next week. Fort Benton today, 84 degrees. We'll get back into the mid-90s as Sunday rolls around, flirting with the triple digits on Monday at 98 degrees. And Havre here, we're looking at 84. A couple of clouds off and on through the weekend and a hot week to follow with 98 on Monday, Shannon.
Time now 6:49. Thanks, Jason. Stocks were mixed on Thursday. The Dow fell 80 points. The Nasdaq rose 30. The S&P 500 was down 6. The Trump administration is rolling back another Obama-era environmental rule, this one designed to limit methane leaks from oil and gas fields as well as pipelines. The move by the Environmental Protection Agency eliminates the need to check for leaks twice a year. Some states and environmental activists pledged to sue the administration and say the EPA's own analysis shows the rule change will lead to increased emissions of greenhouse gases. While many businesses are struggling to stay afloat amid coronavirus, one industry is experiencing a sudden boom. Sewing machine sellers are now scrambling to keep up with the surge in demand. Self-isolation has inspired many to take up sewing, searching for a way to fill the time. But a perhaps more obvious trigger for the sewing boom is the demand for face masks after the CDC issued new recommendations to wear them. A new feature is coming to Netflix that could be a big help to blind and deaf viewers. It will allow users to adjust playback speeds, as in making a show play at a faster or slower rate. For the blind, this feature is useful when a narrator describing what's happening in a scene. A board member of the National Federation for the Blind says at normal play rates, those parts can seem drawn out, and it'll be useful to speed it up. For deaf viewers, slowing down a show can give more time to read subtitles. Right now, the feature is only available for Android phones. Netflix says it is testing it for iOS and its website. And get this, after video released by the Pentagon showing unidentified flying objects zooming past military jets, the U.S. is officially creating a UFO task force. The Pentagon is expected to make a formal announcement in the coming days. The task force will investigate where UFOs came from. The sightings have long been a concern for military bases, who say the aircrafts pose a risk of interfering with jets during military exercises. Some U.S. officials speculate the UFOs could just be drones, while others wonder where they came from.
Coming up, President Trump's senior advisor Jared Kushner joins us to discuss the Middle East peace agreement. Plus, these scientists are playing tag with sharks to keep them from dying out. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
Happy Friday to you. It is 6:53. Let's get you out the door with some of the day's top stories on this August 14th, 2020. Montana is reporting over 140 new coronavirus cases since Wednesday. A Yellowstone County man in his 60s died on Wednesday, attributed to COVID. Lewis and Clark County reports 5 new cases. Cascade County is reporting 3 new cases. More than 4,000 people have recovered so far. It's now official. Montanans will be asked to decide on legalization of marijuana this November. 2 initiatives that would legalize recreational marijuana in Montana will be on the ballot for November 3rd. I-190, if passed, would legalize the possession and use of limited amounts of marijuana for those 21 and older. It has a companion measure, that's Constitutional Initiative 118, which is needed to allow the 21-year-old age restriction in the law. Without it, adults 18 to 20 could be banned from possessing marijuana. I-190 would also levy a 20% tax on the sale of non-medical marijuana, and that measure says it could generate $48 million a year by 2025. Just days before the first Montana High School Association sanctioned sporting event since last March, more changes are hitting the high school sports scene. The MHSA Executive Board approved a handful of proposals on Thursday, including Class AA canceling its non-conference schedule in all sports and holding golf tournaments to just 1 day. That decision could postpone the beginning of competition. It also provides more time to evaluate. And days after the Big Sky Conference announced postponements to the fall schedule, the Frontier Conference is following suit. The Commissioner Kent Paulson stated that the league will join dozens across the country in preparing a spring schedule. You can find more details of those cancellations on montanasports.com. And the Bureau of Land Management has extended the public comment period for the Scratch Gravel Hills project to October 6th. The BLM is considering the development of 40 miles of new multi-use trails that would be for biking, equestrian use, and electric bikes with less than 1 horsepower. That plan was initially released back in June.
And as you're heading out the door here this morning, bright and early, on the weather scene, we're looking pretty nice out there. Nice sunrise, hardly a cloud in the sky. Clear skies are going to continue here today throughout the board. And not bad temperature-wise here today, but again, it is going to get hot over the weekend, especially this next week. Today's high temperatures sitting at about 81 degrees here in Great Falls. Looking at me weird over here. 78 degrees in Hayes here today, looking at the mid-80s along the High Line. So really the big talking point is that more mild air mass is going to continue to track out of the region. High pressure is going to rebuild this weekend and take us into the first part of this next week, and that is going to push temperatures well into the 90s here. So as for today's forecast, 81 in Great Falls, 82 in the capital. Again, plenty of sunshine there. Looking to tomorrow in Great Falls, sunny skies, 86 degrees. Get out and enjoy it. And again, enjoy the more mild temperatures because they're not going to last some very, very hot weather around. And if you've spent any amount of time with us here on Montana this morning, you've probably heard us refer to Carter.
Yes.
He's usually yelling at me in my ear for something.
Always.
But long story short, Carter's been our director for how long now?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Gone through quite a few changes with the show.
Right, right. We've thrown a lot of curveballs at him. So his job is obviously pressing buttons for a living.
It's a lot
Which
more
I'm
than
not
that,
doing
but
right
yes.
now.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that
Our
who's
new
doing it?
director is back there, Jade, doing it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Jade's moving in. So Carter, tell us a little bit about your career here at KRTV,
Oh,
like how it
man.
started and how you ended up being a director.
Well, I started as a PA camera op
Okay.
about almost 5 years ago.
Wow.
And
I didn't realize it had been 5 years.
I know, it's been a long
Wow.
time. And
Yeah.
then I just kind of slowly worked my way up the chain and
Right.
was the weekend director for about 3 years, and then I took this job about a year and a half ago, and now I'm moving on
Yeah,
to...
you're not leaving us though.
I love my KRTV family way too much.
Right, so now you're moving over to sales, right? So that's kind of a
Correct.
new venture, you know, going out and calling on clients and whatnot. Are you stoked about that?
Yeah,
Are you
I'm
excited?
it's bittersweet, but
Right?
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic.
There's no salespeople in the building.
No.
Like
We won't get to
we
see
haven't
you
seen
anymore.
sales since COVID happened.
Yeah, occasionally
so,
on Zoom meetings, but
yeah, so that'll be kind of weird. We won't get to harass
Yeah.
Carter every day, but
Is your favorite part, though, that your alarm won't go off? at
Yes, I
whatever time
can't
in the
wait
morning?
to not have to wake up at 2 in the morning.
right, because a lot of folks don't realize, like Shannon and I get here about 2:30,
Yeah.
literally in the morning. Carter, you roll in what, 3?
Yeah, about 3-ish.
3-ish. Because obviously there's a lot of work that
I need my beauty sleep.
Yeah.
exactly,
Clearly.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, clearly. I told him, I was like, where's your suit and tie? You know, you got to
Gotta
get ready
for the sales
ready
world.
For sale. So
Yeah.
being on this side of the camera with all the lights and all
Yeah, it's
that,
different
how's it feel,
perspective.
Carter? Yeah.
They're bright, but I knew that.
yeah.
Very
Right.
bright. Yeah, well, we appreciate, and like he said earlier, you always have considered family, and I
Oh,
always
yeah.
appreciate that about Carter. He calls us family, and I think especially
Yeah.
in the mornings and stuff, that's very, very
Yeah.
true. At this hour of
Yeah.
the day, you have to do that. So,
Right.
Carter, we thank you because you've been
Seriously.
just an
Thanks.
amazing
Thanks.
director, and he makes, he rolls with ideas we have. He
Yeah.
rolls with all the punches, makes things happen. So.
That's not an easy gig.
No,
I
not
mean,
at
it's
all.
you should see that board back there and all the
Yeah.
buttons. It's not
It's
an easy
intense.
gig. So,
Yes.
and of course, welcoming Jade on board.
Yeah, yay,
You know,
Jade!
so, yeah,
Woo!
well, there was a picture. That's when our camera
Our
operator,
whole
speaking of
crew.
family, our camera operator Ashley cooked for us one morning.
Yep.
Brought that
And
in.
the other one's his sister.
Yeah, there you go. So big
Legitimate
family
family.
here on Montana
Yeah.
this morning.
All
Well,
right.
Carter, seriously, thank you for all your work, and we'll see you on the flip side.
All right.